Hello, Booktube. As you can see, I am back with another haul. Yesterday, I did go to 2nd and Charles. I went to a bunch of thrift stores, a couple of library book nooks, and a couple of library book sales in the Detroit, Michigan metro area. Came away with this, and there's a couple in here that I grabbed this past week at my local thrift shops. This is huge, so we're going to get going. Picked up a couple copies of Max Allan Collins' CSI tie-in novels. And let's see if I can do this without stepping out of frame, because I really only want to do one take of this. Like Westerns, none of these. I grabbed them because they were there. I showed up at a bag sale, and they're like, we're closing in 5 minutes. So it was anything that looked almost kind of interesting got thrown in the bag. That's where this came from. That's where this came from. That's where this came from. Short Westerns, I haven't read a lot of those in a long time. Here's some more. But, you know, that's something I want to get back into. Silly Men's Adventure stuff. Series that I didn't get into back in the day. Let's do these two. Were also, hey, I grabbed almost everything I could out of the Western bin. Here's a nice copy of Fletch 1. This one I've been wanting because it's in that book I showed a while back, 52 Weeks, 52 Westerns. So this is actually going near the top of the list of stuff to be actually read in the very near future. Most of the stuff is, the intention is to try and read it. Some of it is to pass along. For instance, I have all these John D. McDonald books. I always grab Deep Blue Goodbye to pass along to people or for trading. We'll see. I like these early covers of One Fearful Yellow Eye. I don't remember if that one was a particularly good one. And Bullet for Cinderella. So also with Rex Stout. I've got a bunch of Stout stuff. This was something odd that I found. I've never seen the Edgar Wallace Mystery Magazine. I always thought of him as more of a thriller or horror writer. And if you look, you can see it's got H.P. Lovecraft and Frederick Brown and those kinds of guys in here. Okay, I'm going to put that one over there. Ross MacDonald, another master of the genre, of the crime genre, whose books I tend to grab when I see them for under 50 cents. I love the cover on this. This sounds like a PI novel, so I grabbed that one. An old Nick Carter with some pages in the back that I don't think came out of this book, but hey, I always like finding cool stuff in these. That's an old one. That's from like 1970. Look at that cover. Like back before the Killmaster days when it was really fairly graphic. Agatha Christie, find decent Agatha Christie's, grab those. Alright, so let's do, this one had a cool cover. This was a grab because it was there. This one was a grab because it was there, but when I read about it, it sounded kind of cool. Like Men's Adventures from the 70s. Not quite the Rambo-esque stuff of the 1980s. I've got a book or two by this guy. I got to repair the cover on this. These are all really reading copies. I find a few things that are really nice reading or trade or collectibles. For the most part, we're talking about things that are reading copies. So I quote from Donald Hamilton on the cover. It's David Morrell, speaking of Rambo. He wrote First Blood. For my film tie-in collection, Heaven's Prisoners. Okay. A whole bunch of Robert Parker Spencer novels. Spencer is a series that I'm currently rereading. In fact, I think this is the volume that I'm on. The stuff from the 70s into probably the early 90s. Whole bunch of different eras of the book. I like these covers because these are the ones I remember from when I was in high school when I read these. If you're not familiar with them, this is what the Spencer for Hire television series was based on. They're pretty good. Probably a little dated. Very readable. At some point, people noticed the margins got bigger and it became not so great. But hey, those early ones up through probably about 1995 or 90s might work for you. Lawrence Block, I tend to grab his stuff. I'm going to save that one because I want to talk about it a little bit. Some Ed McBain's, another series that I'm reading. Rereading the 87th Precinct novels. Sadie When She Died, I read, I think, in high school, but this one's coming up in my reread. Good stuff. If you want to read police procedurals that are 90% about the job and people being on the job and doing the job. couple more Ed McBain's. These are the Matt Hope series. I've never read any of these, but I have a bunch of them, and these were just nice paperback copies that I thought I would grab and add to the collection. Okay, what else we got here? Lauren Esselman. It's a local author to me. This one I've never seen before, but a lot of Esselman books. He writes crime fiction. He writes historical crime fiction. He's going to actually be speaking here in town in a couple of weeks, talking about his new contemporary detective novel, his Amos Walker novel. Yep, there's an Amos Walker. So I'm probably going to go see him. He also writes westerns. So I found a whole bunch of these for very cheap at a Salvation Army in Pontiac, Michigan, of all places. One of the most rundown looking Salvation Army buildings I've ever walked into, and it was a bonanza of these Esselman stuff. I think almost all of these except for one came from that score. So this is going to be a chance for me to upgrade some of my copies, and to, quite frankly, I can trade these in at my local bookstore because he's a local guy and people collect his stuff. I found a bunch of these 80s New York-based police novels featuring, at least some of them featured Detective Joe Dante, which makes me laugh because I'm a fan of the filmmaker Joe Dante. Quite frankly, stuff that I grabbed for my local mystery book shop, the Simeon. I've tried to read one or two of these and I was not into it. That was years ago. I might try one of these. But, you know, this is more stuff that, like I said, traded at my local bookstore. And there goes some paperbacks. They're fine, though. Okay. Warren Murphy of the Destroyer series. I don't have this one, so I was glad to grab that. This just looked interesting. This is from a recent Not Yesterday score. This double seemed kind of odd, so I figured I'd grab it. I've never read any Fritz Lieber, so I wanted to do that. Scottish crime novel. Didn't know anything about it. My buddy said, "Hey, check this out," so I grabbed it. Max Allan Collins' True Detective. Nice copy of that. More Rex Stout. A nice trade. Larry Black's Hit Me. This might be an upgrade copy for the one that I have, but once again, this is for me to pass on to people that I'm trying to get to read that kind of stuff. Trying to get people to read stuff. I'm a big crime fan. I also like to read horror. I got a whole stack of horror stuff. There is a fine line between crime and horror, and I have a lot of friends who are into horror that I'm trying to say, hey, maybe you should check out some crime stuff. Anyways, Joe Lansdale. I always pick these up when I see them. All right. Speaking of crime, Sherlock Holmes. Mickey Spillane. All right. Love the cover on this. And this looks like the Drake series from Dan J. Marlowe. I definitely gonna give this one a shot. I think it's even got a cigarette, and now this one doesn't. There's a Book of the Month Club ad in it, but I have a couple that have cigarette ads in it, which is kind of interesting to see. Really interesting Max Brand book. This looks like a crime novel, not a western, which is what we're really used to, and I like that cartoony cover. A while back, grabbed another Frankenstein. All right. Let's see. Another Mickey Spillane hardcover. I'm going to have to gently put this one down here. Okay. Tabitha King. Hugh Pentecost. I'm trying to grab his stuff when I see it. Frederick Brown. Murder Can Be Fun. This is originally printed in 1946. I want to read this one. So, all right. Getting into the horror stuff, which people ask about it. My intention is to try and read a lot of this stuff, pass some of it along, trade some of it in. I'm not looking to get rich off of anything. I'm looking to, get books in the hands of people that want them, and also, help kind of defray the cost of me getting books from my local shop. Helps them out. They make money off of what they resell or whatever. So, Simon Green, I had this one, and I think I found it for a dime. This one needs a cover fixed a little bit, but James Herbert, this is paperback from Hell territory we're in now. Speaking of which, hardcover copy of Legion by William Peter Blatty. Another Del Abyss, Kathy Koja. You can see the Del there. Got that one. I was happy to find it. I might actually get to meet her because they're doing a presentation for Paperbacks from Hell here in Ann Arbor end of the month. So I'm hoping to go to that. Mercedes Lackey. This is interesting. So these are Tor. These are some I picked up a couple weeks ago. But if you look there, same series. One's horror, the other's dark fantasy. That's marketing for you, folks. Also picked up some other of these like 80s, like elves and rock and roll in the 80s series. The Unborn, I might have shown this one, I don't remember. Nebulon Horror, that one as well. This one I found yesterday, I was happy to find it. Another Jack Ketchum novel. The Inheritance. I don't know, it's one of these die cut covers. So I was glad to find that. Got a hole in the back, but you know, it doesn't like go through to the reading pages, and the binding's a little bit loose. Books from the 80s, what you gonna do? Richard Matheson, if I see Richard Matheson stuff reasonably, I pick it up. I don't know much about this one. Apparently it's his take on Deliverance. And then finally, the book that has caused more of a stir for me in the last 2 days than any of the rest of these. Probably the most excited ones I was the 44 for the Western I showed. Maybe the John Creasy. I mean, I was happy to find so much of this stuff. You know, the Hugh Pentecost, I'm looking forward to checking that out. The Kathy Koja, the Joe Lansdale, you know, Max Allan Collins stuff. But posted this on the men's fiction group, and the friend that I was with yesterday, this was the first book I found, by the way, in my hunt yesterday. He spent the whole day saying, "Oh, you bastard, you bastard, I want that next, I want that next," so he gets to read it next. But I've had people sending me messages and whatnot about this, so maybe I shouldn't. Let's just show it. Hell to be Present. This is from 1980. This is The Hell Candidate by Thomas Luke, who's actually Graham Masterton. And you can find that out because Graham Masterton has actually got the 1980 copy right there. And this printing is from, oh, this is first pocketbook, July 1980. This will get lent to my buddy, but that's really about it. Other than that, it's going to stay in my collection. Look at that cover. That is amazing. So I hate to even say that I found this on the clearance rack at 2nd and Charles. So make sure you check your clearance racks out there. You never know what's lurking. So yeah, that's the haul in 13 minutes. So, thanks for watching. You know, I show these off to show people what you can find in the wild if you go and search and look. Booksalefinder.com is what we use to find book sales in our area. And usually once you find a couple book sales that are, you know, 20, 30 miles from each other, then you just go to Google Maps and you do thrift shops nearby, and you can see if there's Salvation Army or Value World, or we don't have Savers here, but some parts of the country do, or various church thrift stores, community thrift stores, Goodwill, all of those kinds of things. You never know what you're going to find. School rummage sales, all of that stuff. There's a lot of treasures out there to be found. And even though I found this and I found that, you know, whatever weirdness this is going to be, you know, find copies of Sherlock Holmes for 50 cents or a quarter. That's worth, you know, taking a look at, or whatever, you know. Even if even if this isn't your thing, like I know that my local, I just got a notification to feed the dogs. I know that my local mystery shop, that their customers want these, so I can trade them in for, you know, 50 cents or whatever, and it's gonna be 40 cents a head, 50 cents or 20 cents a head, whatever it was. But it gets them into the hands of people that want them and gets you a few credits at your local store. So anyways, until next time, everybody be good. Tell me what you think. Tell me which of these you like. Anything that you think I should read sooner rather than later. And yep. Yeah, this is staying with me. Sorry. Catch y'all later.